I think acceptance is important at this moment. And also just remembering that as much as there's no assurance that it's going to end, there's also no assurance that it's going to remain this way.
Welcome back to the Gospel Coalition Africa podcast. If you're joining us for the first time today, my name is Blaque Newborn and I'm your host. And on the other line, we have Sane, who's been a guest on our podcast before.
Yeah.
And today we're just going to be talking about, I think, more the economic effects of COVID-19. So obviously the coronavirus has hit our grounds, it's hit our streets, and a lot of people are reacting in various ways. But I think more than the virus itself, we're starting to notice that there's other effects, and one of them being on our jobs. And so for those who don't know who you are, Sane, can you please tell us just briefly who you are and what you do?
Hi, everybody. My name is Sanelisiwe Jobodwana. I was born in Zambia, raised between Johannesburg and Pretoria, and I am an actress living in South Africa.
That's pretty dope. You're not going to be acting anytime soon.
Well, not really, because I've got some stuff that I'm doing at home. I'm using this time as somewhat of a preparation, so that when the time comes, I'm ready,
Yeah. Sure. So I think let's just start at the beginning. When did you hear about the coronavirus? Where were you? What was happening?
Let me think. Well, I think there had been talks about the coronavirus here and there, and I must say, I was hearing the word, but I wasn't really grasping what was going on. And I think at the time that I first heard about it, I thought of it like Ebola, where, it's a serious situation and there are people dying, but somehow I don't think it's going to affect me. So I don't actually need to talk about it, and that's just me being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it really just made an impact on my life when now, so many people were dying, and then also having a friend who is, around those areas where it's like high risk. That's when I started to engage with this. And then obviously with everything that has happened in South Africa, which felt like 1 week where everything just shut down at the same time, And that's when I was like, oh, whoa, this is real. I knew it was real, but I was like, this is happening now, So so I can say that I really engaged with it perhaps maybe 3 weeks ago.
Sure. Okay. And I can safely say you're probably not the only one.
Yeah.
A lot of us fall into that boat, because most of us were like, it's happening far away, it's not gonna come here.
Yeah.
And I think, thank God that I think our government was more prepared, because as things were happening, they took charge immediately and kind of, called everybody to order and put actions in place.
I think for the rest of us, I'm shocked at how they reacted to it.
Sure.
Yeah, but I guess that's another conversation altogether.
Yeah. I was saying, just for the rest of us though, because we didn't think about the effects of this thing. We just thought of the biological or medical effects only, but we just didn't think about the social economic effects of this thing. So I think most of us were kind of ill prepared. So we didn't think that it will affect our jobs, or it's going to affect our social gatherings. It's not going to affect church. We didn't think through all those things. I don't think so individually. But as the government has obviously called a state of emergency, we're seeing that now we need to start changing the way we're living, start rethinking about how we do life. And so for you, you obviously in the acting space. For somebody who doesn't know, can you run us through what that looks like. Do you get up in the morning and go act? Do you wake up in the morning, go teach people to act? Just run us through what your career looks like.
So I think this morning I had to realize that my career looks like a COVID-19. I feel like I'm in a constant state of COVID-19, you know? And the reason that I say that is because when I was thinking about all the precautionary measures that the government is telling us to make and what changes you have to make and, you know, the uncertainties of the future and how, you know, gigs are being cancelled or postponed, how, you know, income is, you know, going to fluctuate and, you know, maybe you'll go with income and maybe you won't. I was like, no, man, but this is like a day in the actor's life, in a South African artist's life. This is like, I'm trying to, I think the only thing when I was praying in the morning, the only thing that I was panicked about was the actual virus. I wasn't panicked about everything else because in the nature of my business, I'm used to these type of disappointments and having contingency plans and having a plan B. So like a day for me, a day for me would be waking up, it would be praying, and it would be asking for God to, first of all, help me to stay in an emotionally sane place. And then it would be planning ideas that may or may not come to pass. And if they do come to pass, it might not come with financial gain. And then it would be going to my part-time job. And even that part-time job, you know, you're hoping that it'll be able to carry you, but because it's part-time and because it has to do with art, teaching drama at private schools, that too, it's dependent on parents and whether they're putting their children into drama, because it's actually a luxury extramural activity. You know what I'm saying? So my days are never, I don't have set days because things change in my days. Some days I wake up and I learn monologues. Other days I'm at auditions. The next day, you know, somebody could call me up and say, hey, I've actually got voiceover work, you know, for you. So my days really belong to God. I don't know how else to say it.
That's
but
good.
I don't really have like a set like routine. I'm trying to develop that, but I think with my past and how emotionally draining this industry has been, I think this year I came into a place where I'm at the drawing board. You know, so some things definitely have been compromised. Like there were gigs that we had set up that were going to pay us, and that was set in stone and that we had already started. So I knew for a fact that from now until the end of August, there's going to be some sort of flow of money coming in. And that excited me. And in fact, this is the first time I've ever had such assurance, you know. And then COVID-19 happened. So,
When you say us, who's us?
Oh, so I am a co-owner and founder of the Movement RSA, which is a independent theater company. And it's our speciality is bringing theater, bringing theater into unconventional spaces, and also making sure that the youth have access to theater in a way that would be more comfortable for them.
Sure. So you mentioned two things. One, you run the movement. So could we safely say that's a small business that you're running?
Yes.
And then on the other side, you have your part-time gig, which is teaching at the school. And so you obviously earning a wage from that. But with those two things, I mean, I love how you beautifully described that COVID-19 is just another day for you, because just how unsettling the acting industry is. But even with that, I think there was still some hope outside of COVID-19. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There was still some way. I mean, you could leave your house, you could go set up meetings, you could set up appointments for new business opportunities. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you guys were scheduled to travel to Cape Town to do some work there. But now that you're at home, and that's cancelled. None of that income is coming.
Mm.
I think just what were your initial feelings? You know what I mean? So yes, on a normal day when COVID-19 is not there, you still like, yo, man, I need to trust the Lord. There's still some anxiety, whatever. Did COVID-19 increase the level of anxiety? Did you feel more hopelessness? Or what were your initial feelings?
Yeah, my initial feelings, and I hate to drop her name in this, but like my bestie is Lily, and she always talks about the frozen place. And
Yeah.
that, so for the frozen place, for people which don't know, is a place where you go into where you're just like frozen. You don't touch anything. You don't think about
Sure.
anything. You escape reality for a while. You do everything but what you're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
and that it's just like a total shutdown. And I think that's what happened to me. I didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to feel despair. I didn't want to feel hopelessness. I didn't want to feel confused. I didn't want to feel like I'm grabbing onto control that I know I don't have. And so I just
Sure.
froze. And in that
Sure.
frozen place, so many things were happening. The lady from the American school, which is one of our residencies that we have at schools, she
Mm-hmm.
called and she said, "Okay, guys, yeah, you guys can't come anymore, and we'll pay you. We're going to pay you for the days that you did come," which means that. And that money was the money that we're going to use to go to Cape Town. So it means now we
Yeah.
have less money. And because of that less money, we might have to now, use our own reserves to add money into that. And then there's the issue of we haven't yet rehearsed. So
Sure.
now we can't rehearse because that means going into spaces like Bree Taxi Rank and different like transport systems because we don't have cars, and then when you get to the rehearsal space, how safe is that going to be? Because the rehearsal space that we go to definitely has more than 100 people in those spaces at a time, which
Sure.
is the Joburg
Yeah.
Theatre, the Market Theatre. So that is put on hold. So I think, yeah, it definitely, it took me to the frozen place, but it didn't mean that I could stop interacting. So I was interacting from a very autopilot place. And after that, what had happened is after I sent all the emails and I had conversations with everybody, because I was heading up these projects, I was producing them for this half of the year. I
Yeah.
just literally I just cried. I really just cried because this was that year for me. This was the breaking out of getting financial freedom, getting debt free, really
Yeah.
going for it and being that person.
Yeah.
So I did break down, and I feel like I'm constantly breaking down, but I'm still within that frozen space. So I'm breaking down, but I don't know, almost like I'm watching myself breaking down,
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, there's definitely anxiety, but
Yeah.
it's almost like a smidgen more than what I experience on a daily basis. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's because
Sure.
I realize that I'm constantly in a state of anxiety. Even though I've got these different skills and tools to suppress it, but I'm constantly in that state. And yeah, I literally said, if I did not have my family, if we did not have
Yes.
a family home that is built, literally,
Yes.
I don't know where I would be right now. I don't know what I'd be
Sure.
eating. I don't know. I probably, and I know my church would carry me. I know that, thank
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wouldn't feel as comfortable in terms of my livelihood that I do right now because I know I'm going to eat. I know that I'm safe. I know that I'm in a home. And yeah.
Sure. And I think with all of that said,
Mm.
just practically, just thinking through things. So the gig that you have with the school,
Mm.
is there any? I mean, for somebody who's listening and they thinking, or they're in the same situation, or they might not be in the same situation, but just to kind of elaborate and help them understand better. Is there like an insurance when you sign a contract with them, or it's like, yo, if you don't work, there's no pay? What's the setup?
Yeah. I think that's the most difficult part. There is no insurance. It
Sure.
literally is from paycheck to paycheck, from day to day, from contract to contract. So there isn't anything stipulated in our contract that, you know, if a COVID-19 happens, or if you are sick that day, or, you know, if you are pregnant, or, you know, whatever the case is, that there is some sort of reserves that you're going to get. Well, we just don't have that luxury. And I know that a lot of companies and people which have more stable jobs and are in more stable careers have that. At least they will get some sort of payment at the end of this month, you know. We don't have that, and that means that, for instance, the lady who was working for me, she also now doesn't have that security in terms of a paycheck, you know, because she comes in, she cleans the house, I pay her. But I pay her if I'm paid. So if I don't have work that week, she doesn't have work that week. So it's just become a ripple effect, you know. And we just do not have that in South Africa, and it is tough, because I know that there are some countries in the world, first world countries, where at least actors get a dole. You know, they do get some sort of income at the end of the month, like Holland and I think Ireland and possibly even like other European countries. You know, I think Germany are assured that. So no, and so I'm okay, but I know one of our group members is going to suffer. She's definitely going to suffer, and that means all the reserves that we have for the movement right now automatically had to go to her. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, you said something very powerful there, that you're okay. Why are you okay? What reserves do you have? What practical means do you have? So if you're not gonna get income for the rest of the year from your business, because you can't travel, you can't be in spaces where you can act, you can't go to the schools and teach. So if I'm a small business owner sitting here listening to this thing, and I'm like, yes, like how are you okay? Because I feel like we're in the same boat. Do you have tips for me to do stuff? Do you have, you know what I mean? Do you have plans, or is it purely just like, yo, I have a bunch of people looking after me?
I've got a bunch of people looking after me. In fact, not a bunch of people. I've got my mother who's taking care of me. And the only reason that she's okay is because she planned 10, 20 years ahead for times like this.
Wow.
So she has reserves constantly. And she has the pension that is coming in. And although it's tight, because, you know, she's in a tight spot. She is financially in a tight spot. It's not tight to the point where she's at zero, you know. And then my parents have paid off the house. So, even if there's no electricity, even if we cannot maintain the actual home, the home will always be there, you know.
Sure.
And that's literally the only reason why I'm actually okay. And I just want to make it clear that, you know, it's not really different from everyday life, because I've gotten into so many spots where I was just broke, and I continue to be okay because my mother planned ahead. And it's something which at the same time bothers me the most, that she had to plan ahead for this, or she finds herself in this situation when I really do feel like the role should be at least reversed at this point, you know. And it's not something that she makes me feel bad about or anything like that, but me as myself, I genuinely wish the roles were reversed, and that, you know, she could just live off me. I think that's what I want to say. So and in terms of advice, I think, you know, the thing right now to do isn't to constantly remind yourself of what the situation is, you know, or wish for it to be something else. I think acceptance is important at this moment, and also just remembering that as much as there's no assurance that it's going to end, there's also no assurance that it's going to remain this way. You know, things can change. I've personally seen many times when God has turned around situations, and situations in health, situations financially, and there are just so many promises that God has made in terms of provision, and that He's a safe house, and that He's our refuge, and that He will not abandon us in the Bible. And those are really the things that I think that people should be clinging onto at this moment, because there isn't anything practical that I can say to somebody that will rid them of the uncertainties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sure.
There isn't anything practical. I can't even say wear a mask or don't touch certain, whatever. I can't say, hey, go out to wherever and sing for whoever so that you can get money, or act for whoever. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that I can actually say practically that you can do at this moment, except for work on what you've always wanted to work on in your business. Fine tune whatever you already have going on. Do the things that you wished that you could have done, but you just did not have any time to do. Get busy doing those things, even if that means working on yourself internally, and then pray. Yeah.
That's good, man. I heard somebody saying that this is a time for us to just focus on the weak areas in our businesses. So if you're struggling in terms of marketing, maybe this is a time for you to just get a marketing book and read through that. You know what I mean? If you're struggling with, I don't know, like graphic designing or whatever, because most small businesses, we normally wear a million hats, you know what I mean? Like one person wears 100 hats. So it's time for you to master all the other hats that you hadn't had time to master. So it would be good for people to kind of do that. But earlier on, you mentioned that every day belongs to God. I thought that was a powerful statement.
Yeah.
I think you can end us off with that note. What hope can we find in that every day belongs to God?
I said that statement, but I think I've only truly believed it now that COVID-19 has happened. I've believed it in dribs and drabs, and I think at the core I do believe it. But I think for me, now that this has happened, what that means for me is that when I wake up, I shouldn't take anything for granted. I shouldn't take the fact that I am able to move around without any support. The fact that I am well in my body, the fact that my brain is operating at in the way that it's operating, and the fact that I still have hope. I don't think that should be taken for granted. But also, I think that they need to. I found that I need to acknowledge that everything that I'm doing starts and ends with God. You know what I'm saying? And it's made me to realize that what is actually important. What do I actually want to do with my time? And how is this glorifying God? I've literally just had that thought in my mind for the past 3 days, that because everything is so tight right now, there are certain things that I probably would have been doing that I'm not doing anymore, because I realize that they're just not as important. So I think that it's really doing everything that that God has been nudging you to do that perhaps you haven't been doing, but also just dedicating your days back to God and being so sensitive towards the Holy Spirit and the work of God within you. I think for me that's the biggest thing that a person can do right now. And this one is a tough one, but trying hard not to be self-centered in this moment. You know what I'm saying? And taking into consideration the people which are probably really, really going through the most, in terms of being in impoverished environments, and what does that mean for them, and seeing how you can help, even if that means literally praying about it every single day, whatever the case is. But I think, dedicating your days to God and just really doing what you're supposed to be doing, not just doing things because there's tomorrow, or there's this, or there's that,
Sure. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good, man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being very transparent. Thank you for being open and honest And it is in those spaces that people find hope, find courage, because if we can be bare like that because we trust God, it demonstrates to others that they can trust the same God that we trust.
Yes.
So we'll be praying for you. We'll be praying for the next couple of months, and that you could continue believing that every day does indeed belong to God.
Thank you so much. And I'll also be praying for you guys.
Thank you so much. And so with that, we just want to wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully this was encouraging. We'll have a lot of other episodes just reporting on what's happening with COVID-19. And we'll interview more people just so that we stay connected and that we don't feel isolated in this time. Sane, thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Blaque.
Cool.